with the president. The congressman, as you know, has just been voted in as the House Republican Conference chair. Congresswoman, is it your sense that this measure, this latest measure, would pass the House as it's built now?
Yeah, hi, Neil. Thanks for having me. Look, in the meeting that we had with the president this afternoon, it's absolutely clear that there's no distance between the House Republicans and the president. We know that we've got to secure our border. So what we've just passed through the Rules Committee is a bill that provides $5 billion for the wall and for border security, provides additional funding, over $8 billion for disaster relief that's really crucial and necessary. And, you know, if you just look at the exchange that just went on moments ago in the Rules Committee, you had my colleagues on the Democratic side saying things like the wall was, quote, stupid, saying things like the wall was, quote, offensive. You know, and we, the House Republicans and the president, know that what's really offensive is a refusal by the Democrats, by Leader Pelosi, to refuse to secure the border. So we are committed to doing that. We're committed to ensuring that that happens. We know we've got no higher obligation, and that's the direction that we're headed in.
Is it your sense then, Congressman, that you would have the votes in the House to get this passed? It would go to the Senate, and presumably with the Republican edge there, it would pass? Or do you know some of your colleagues who don't want this come hook or crook?
Well, look, I mean, I think the Senate is an entirely different animal. You'll have to talk to the senators about what they're planning to do with this. But I know that we in the House take very seriously our responsibility to secure the border. I also know that the continuing resolution that the Senate passed by voice vote yesterday is not something that the president is interested in signing. And we have said all along that we believe that we're going to be able to put something on the floor and pass it. We've actually, just as I said, passed this text out of the Rules Committee that will do our job, fulfill our constitutional obligation to secure our border. And I would also say, I mean, I think it's very interesting to hear Leader Pelosi continue to talk about the Republicans not having the votes. I'm amazed she's got time to focus on that, given the struggles she's having on her side of the aisle to get the votes for her speakership. So we're working hard. We believe in securing the border, and we're going to continue to fight for that. All
right. Well, you have also heard from Nancy Pelosi, Congresswoman, who's saying that this is all on Republicans and that this was overplayed by the president, mishandled by Republicans as well. That it's frustrating Republicans because they don't know where the president is on this, just like they were surprised by his decision to pull American troops out of Syria. They don't know what's going on. Is that a fair criticism?
No. I mean, look, at the end of the day, Speaker Pelosi to be, presumably, I know she's trying to be that, Schumer and Pelosi both, they're playing games. And the American people who are watching this all across the country know the difference between putting a bill on the floor that's going to protect the borders, it's going to fund border security, the kind of bill the president has asked for that we support, and the kind of gamesmanship we're seeing on the Democratic side. Unfortunately, I think it's probably a taste of what we're going to see when they're in the majority starting in January, but you can count on the House Republicans to continue to fight for what we know is right, and there is nothing more important than the security of the nation. So I'm proud to stand with the president on this, and we're going to make sure that we can provide him with the kind of funding we know we need to secure our borders.
I know you don't obsess over the markets. Only nerds like I do who cover them here. One of the things that has been raised, though, Congressman, I don't know if it's fair or even right, is that we are very close to a bear market in some averages, precisely because there is concern that things are just falling apart in Washington, not to mention in some once high-flying stocks, and that Republicans are getting fingered for that. Is that fair?
No, look, Neil, I think that when the American people watch the kind of games we're seeing, you look at that meeting that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi had with the president where they were just interested in playing games. They were just interested in sort of trying to trap the president and trying to come up with sound bites. What we all know we've got to do is secure the border. That's what the president wants to do. That's what we know we have to do. And so the longer that you see, you know, this threat that the Democrats, the games that they're playing in terms of shutting down the government, the more the American people are going to say, wait a second, you know, we don't want to be in a position where you've got to threaten a government shutdown to get the border secure. We're seeing the caravans, we're seeing the extent to which people are attacking our border guards, and that is absolutely unacceptable from the perspective of our security. So, again, I'm very proud of what we're doing as the House Republicans, and we're going to continue every single day to fight to make sure that we're securing our border and securing our nation.
All right, now I know you're talking about a secure border, and it might be a tad apples and oranges, but do you think the president imperiled that by pulling our troops out of Syria right now and providing an impetus for ISIS either to regroup and, who knows, some of them to get to that very border that you want to secure?
Look, I think they're two separate issues. I think that right now what we're focused on is making sure we provide the resources to secure the border. With respect to Syria, I don't want to see us pull out. I think it would be a mistake. I think we've got to make sure that we do not allow ISIS and other radical terrorist organizations establish safe havens. We've been down that road before. It's not a road we want to go down again.
It sounds like he's going to do it anyway, Congresswoman, right?
Well, I think across the board we've got to ensure that we're putting the security of the nation first. And my view is that we should not be withdrawing from Syria, that we've got to make sure that we stay there. We don't want the Iranians to be able to create a land bridge. We don't want a situation where ISIS is able to be resurgent. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to do both things. We've got to be able to ensure that we don't allow terrorist organizations to establish safe havens anywhere in the world, especially in the Middle East. And we've got to make sure that our southern border is secure. And right now, the Democrats are standing in the way, both in the House and the Senate, of our ability to do that. So as the incoming chairman of the House Republican Conference and as a proud Republican member of this body, I'm going to continue to fight on all fronts to make sure that we keep this nation safe.
Congressman, we're learning how ping-pong here, and you've been very patient with me, but we're learning that this revamped spending bill is going to be on the floor, presumably in the next 20 to 30 minutes. I assume you will vote for that measure that includes some of this funding, financing. But do some of your colleagues get angry knowing that they might be working through Christmas?
Look, Neil, we are absolutely committed. We had a conference meeting this morning, and the sentiment in our conference meeting was absolutely that we've got to do what's necessary, that we didn't want to put on the floor a CR that didn't address this issue, the CR that the Senate sent over to us by voice vote. And we're committed to being here. We know how important it is. People obviously want to be able to spend Christmas with their families, but we all have a constitutional obligation. We've all sworn an oath to the Constitution, and as I said, there is nothing more important than making sure that our borders are secure. And so we're willing to stay here as long as it takes to get this done. And if the Democrats in the House and the Senate would stop playing games and stop saying things like it's stupid to secure the border, then I think all of us as Americans could come together and do the right thing.
When you say secure the border, I take it that doesn't necessarily mean a wall. It could mean these steel beams or whatever. It seems to be morphing into a different definition of something to keep our border secure. Am I fair in saying that?
Yeah, look, one of the things that we talked about with the president at the White House today was the different types of walls that there are, and I think it's important. Obviously, we've got technology. They've got walls now. We call them walls, and they are walls. They've got steel slats in them. There are different forms that this can take, but there's no question that some kind of a barrier is crucially important, and that we've got to be able to provide the resources for a wall, for a barrier, as well as resources that we need for technology to secure the border by other means. I would also point out that the Democrats have voted for exactly this kind of thing in the past, and it only seems to be now because President Trump is for it that they're suddenly against it. And it's amazing to me every time I hear Minority Leader Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or any of the Democrats, talk about this as immoral or offensive. What's immoral is for those of us who are elected representatives, the people of this nation, not to do our job. And our job is to secure the border, to keep the country safe first and foremost. So we're going to continue to fight for that.
All right, Congresswoman, thank you very much. The House GOP Conference Chair,
Thank
Liz
you, Neil.
Cheney.
Good evening. For a number of weeks now, House and Senate Democrats and Republicans have worked together to put together an appropriations bill to meet the needs of the American people and now to keep government open. Somehow or other, and I don't know what the answer to the question is, the President of the United States prefers to shut government down and will resist any opportunity to keep government open. Again, we are completely ready, as we have been for a while, with bipartisan, bicameral legislation to pass the 6th appropriations bill and have a continuing resolution for the 7th bill if we cannot come to terms on that. We've offered that to the president. We've also offered him one continuing resolution with 7 bills in it. Yesterday, the United States Senate passed legislation overwhelmingly, and I'll yield to the distinguished leader in the Senate to talk about that. The president is doing everything that he can to shut the government down. You have to ask the question, why? Does he not believe in governance? Does he not care about the American people? Doesn't he know that the economy is uncertain. Hasn't he followed the stock market that he likes to brag about sometimes? There's something wrong with this picture, especially in the holiday season. And so if they make the bill bad enough, they're able to get maybe enough votes on the House side for a shameful bill that is unworthy of this House of Representatives and certainly of the American people. That I yield to the distinguished leader from the Senate.
Well, thank you, Leader Pelosi. Now, today's events have made one thing clear. President Trump is plunging the country into chaos. The stock market's down another 500 points. General Mattis is stepping down, and we know he has real disagreements with the president on Syria and on the wall. And now, President Trump is throwing a temper tantrum and creating the Trump shutdown of the government. Last night, the Senate passed by voice, unanimously, a bill proposed by Leader McConnell. All Speaker Ryan has to do is put it on the floor of the House. It'll get a majority of votes, and the president can sign it and avoid a shutdown. But unfortunately, President Trump was attacked this morning and last night by the hard right, and fearful, he backed off his commitment to sign this bill. Republican leaders told us yesterday that he was ready to sign the bipartisan bill that passed the Senate unanimously, every Democrat and every Republican, to avoid a government shutdown. The bill contained neither Democratic demands or Republican demands. It said to the American people, we have a way to keep the government open. And Leader Pelosi, Leader McConnell, and myself have done everything we can to avoid a shutdown. But President Trump wants one. He's asked for one 25 times, and he said in front of us he'd be proud to shut down the government. It is nothing to be proud of. The bottom line is simple. The Trump temper tantrum will shut down the government, but it will not get him his wall. The bill that's on the floor of the House, everyone knows will not pass the Senate. Speaker Ryan, Leader McCarthy have cynically put it on the floor of the House, knowing it can't pass the Senate. Everyone knows it can't pass the Senate. It's a cynical attempt to just hurt innocent people and do just what President Trump wants, even though they probably know it's bad for the country. So, bottom line is very simple. There's still hope. Leader Pelosi and I have put two proposals on the table. We have not taken them off. That would avoid a government shutdown and get a majority of votes in the House and Senate. Leader McConnell had put on the floor last night a proposal that would avoid shutting down the government. It is a shame that this president, who is plunging the nation into chaos, is throwing another temper tantrum and going to hurt lots of innocent people. The Trump temper tantrum may produce a government shutdown. It will not get him his wall.
Congressman Jim Jordan is a Republican representing Ohio, right in the middle of all this, and he joins us tonight. Congressman, thanks a lot for coming on. So the obvious question as we have the final debate over the wall during the final hours of the Republican Congress.
Yeah.
Why now? Why 2 years later?
Well, you're right. We should have done it earlier. We should have done it in March on the big spending bill. We told American people we would. Then we said, no, we're going to do it in September. Didn't do it then on that spending bill. Then we said we'll do it on December 7th. No, we didn't do it then. And then we said we'll do it on December 21st. We did it tonight in the House. I mean, just a few minutes ago it passed. Even though last week in the Oval Office, Nancy Pelosi said the House can't get the votes to pass a border security wall, funding for a border security wall. We just did a few minutes ago, got 217 votes. I think the Democrats had 185. So we just passed it in the House. That's step one, and now it goes back to the Senate, and we'll see what happens from there. But we need to stand firm on this because, as you said, as the president said, this is a central promise we made the voters in 2016. This is our last best chance to do what everyone knows is just good common sense. Everyone but Democrats, I should say, knows is good common sense.
But I think it's fair for the rest of us to press a little deeper and ask, well, why didn't it happen? I mean, you're absolutely right. It should have happened. You probably would have preferred it had happened earlier. But
we pushed for it to happen earlier, yes.
Right. I remember. But it didn't, and that means that people prevented it from happening. Obviously, Speaker Ryan was one of them. Who else? Just so the rest of us can keep score.
Well, look, it's always easier. I mean, to do something that really counts and has lasting value, lasting meaning, it's never easy. So one
it's
good
hard,
thing,
for sure.
Well, exactly. So anything worth doing is always difficult, but Congress always has a way of trying to take the least resistant route and do the easy thing. So that's why it happened, I think, most often.
Well, wait, but hold on. I mean, look, and I know you were for it, but the tax bill was definitely hard. There was a lot of opposition to it. And the leadership just decided we're getting this done.
Yes.
It's not something that Trump ran on or there was broad public support for, but they wanted it and they got it done and they worked really hard, came on the show, made the case for it. They didn't do that with the wall. And why? Again, I think it's fair to know, since you're on the inside and we're not, who prevented that?
Well, I don't know what prevented it, but I think the intensity was more for the tax cuts than it was for repealing and replacing Obamacare and building the border security wall. I think you're right about that. But there's some intensity today. We've been pushing, and like I said, we just passed a bill that puts $5 billion for a border security wall, and that is a good first step.
Amen to that. Congressman, thanks very much for coming on for that update.
You bet, Tucker.
Now, this really is a story about America's quintessential can-do attitude. Whether their leaders fail them, our citizens take matters into their own hands. Enter Brian Colfax. He's a triple amputee Air Force vet who started a GoFundMe page for the wall, the wall that the politicians don't want to fund. And he started this just 3 days ago. In that short time, he has already raised more than $9.7 million. Now, here to tell us why he did this, what he hopes to achieve, is Brian himself. All right, Brian. Now, the critics will say that this is just a publicity stunt. It's not going to even make a dent in the total cost, which would be at least around $20 billion. I'm not great at math, but that's a pretty tough hill to climb. So what do you say to those critics?
I say that they're full of crap, and this is the United States, and we can do anything we want. And if people want to donate to that wall and give their money, they can do it. I mean, what's $80 for 60 million people? The common person can give that kind of money. And this is not just about Republicans and conservatives. There's an outpouring of Democrats that are messaging me and giving to this wall fund. It's from both sides of the island, but you don't hear the liberal media saying that. This is America coming together. They want the wall, and they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're funding it.
Well, you've had some run-ins before with Facebook, I know, on blocking various counts you've had, even a military beer business you had to give 10% of your profits to military charities. You're a triple amputee, Air Force veteran, and yet Facebook's had like a kind of an aggressive attitude toward you. I know you've hired counsel trying to fight them on this. Are you seeing any resistance to your postings? I've gotten a lot on my Facebook page, and I've sent them out to my friends, but are you getting any resistance at all in the social media community?
I'm not allowed on Facebook anymore. My company, Military Grade Coffee Company, was outright banned, and Facebook executives told me I'm not allowed to use it, and they threatened my wife to delete her account if they catch me on Facebook. So I don't use Facebook anymore. I've gone to Twitter, and that's where people can find me. And it's ridiculous the way that these companies treat people. And Americans are just pissed off. They're pissed off in general, and they're mad with the way politics and politicians are handling things, and big tech, and it's a lot of problems that are bubbling up right now, and it's just a culmination of things, and Americans are just not happy.
Now, why the wall? Why is this an issue for you?
Well, I mean, the wall is an important thing for me. I mean, I feel it's near and dear to my heart, and it was a promise that was made to Americans, and this is a very important part of our nation, our country. We need security. We are a nation of laws. We need to enforce these laws. We can't have people coming across our border who are unchecked that we don't know who they are. I mean, we could have another terrorist attack tomorrow. It doesn't take many people to stage an attack. We need to know who's coming across that border, and we need to keep it in check. And this, like I said, this wall is in our Constitution. We need to have the wall, and Americans want the wall.
What do you mean the wall is in our Constitution? Where in the Constitution?
Well, I mean, it's part of our nation. It's part of our laws.
I mean, you're talking about our sovereignty, our sovereignty.
Yeah, sovereignty.
Right?
We're a nation of laws.
The wall itself is not in the Constitution.
Trump wall is not in the Constitution.
Yeah, but I get what your point is. He made the promise, And if that wall doesn't get built, it's hard to see Trump winning in 2020. I know people don't like hearing that, but if this wall doesn't get built, I think it's going to demoralize a lot of people. We're going to have more problems. You got to get the thing built. But Mike, Mikhail Gillette, I don't know who this person is, but it's some singer I guess a lot of people follow, was hitting you pretty hard on Twitter saying the following. Right now in America, people are donating money they don't have to build a wall they don't need to solve a problem that doesn't exist. And I guess the band Airborne Toxic Effect, basically saying you're bad at math because it would take, till 2086, you're racist, bad at math. I mean, there's no real substantive argument against why a wall may or may not work, but I'm sure you're going to get a lot of that.
Oh, I mean, that's just the liberal tactics and the liberal media. They're going to come out and attack me. They're going to come out and attack my family. And it's just, they can go ahead and do what they want, but we're not stopping. We're going to keep on pushing through. If, no matter what Congress does, if, they pass this through, we're not stopping. We're going to keep pushing this through. We're going to see what Senate does. We're going to see how this plays out. And, Americans aren't happy, and they're going to keep giving to this GoFundMe, and we're going to keep pushing it.
$9.7 million. It's one of the top GoFundMe efforts in just 3 days in the United States for the whole year. Brian, we're going to be following this. Thank you for your service to this country. You suffered greatly for our freedom, and you continue to inspire so many people. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
We get closer and closer to a government shutdown. President Trump is resolute. Today he announced that border security is a principle worth fighting for. Take a look.
Our nation has spent trillions of dollars and sacrificed thousands of brave young lives defending the borders of foreign nations. I am asking Congress to defend the border of our nation for a tiny fraction of the cost. In life, there are certain principles worth fighting for, principles that are more important than politics, party, or personal convenience. The safety and security and sovereignty of the United States is the most important principle of all. If we don't stand strong for our national borders, then we cease to be a nation, and we betray our commitment to the loyal citizens of our great country.
Now, with President Trump determined to fund the border wall, what will happen next in Congress? Joining us from Capitol Hill are two lawmakers who want wall funding. House Freedom Caucus members Georgia Congressman, Jody Hice, and from Virginia's 5th District, Tom Garrett. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. I'll go to Congressman Hice first. Congressman, I know the House Freedom Caucus has been doing an excellent job fighting for principles out there, and I admire your resolute stance on liberty, freedom, and immigration control and border wall funding. But what's going on with the establishment Republicans? Why are they fighting this? We've had the majority for a long time. From your perspective, what took so long to get this done?
Yeah, Dan, really, I don't have any idea as to why. Many of us have been calling for months and months and months. Let's deal with this issue. We have the majority. The American people sent us here for this. The president is behind it. Let's go for it. And for whatever reason, it's been stall after stall after stall, one CR after another. And at this point, there was just a line drawn in the sand, and it was like, we've had enough. We're no longer taking this. It reminds me, Dan, down in the Alamo, there's a monument there, but the monument is not there because they won the fight. It's there because they fought. And that really, it was the line that was drawn in the sand with us over the last 24 hours. And it's turned out to just be an absolutely spectacular 24 hours, both for the Freedom Caucus, for our conference as a whole, for the president, and for our country.
Congressman Garrett, the Republicans out there, the activists, the people knocking on the doors, donating the money, doing the actual work, that are sweating out there in the summer trying to get people in Congress on the Republican side elected, they've been disappointed before, repeatedly. Now, to the credit, the tax cut bill was excellent, but the Obamacare failure and other things, I see this as a political red line and one of those moments where we absolutely have to stand up for something. Do you feel the same way? Are you getting the same thing from your constituents?
Look, one of the reasons that you're lucky you didn't win when you ran for Congress is it's disgusting to be in a town where a bunch of people make promises that they don't intend to keep. And some of us, Congressman Hice and myself, haven't equivocated. Let me be real clear. The cost in human lives, straight line cost of not protecting our border would equal the casualties in the Korean War over a decade. Over 10% of drunk drivers here illegally. That's thousands of deaths a year, 4,000 murders a year. If you then figure in illicit drugs that come into this country and kill our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters, And so this is truly about protecting America. I am for a robust and healthy immigration plan, but it is ridiculous and it flies in the face of a sovereign nation not to do this. It's tragic that it had to be done this way.
Yeah, I agree. Congressman Heisel, this exit question with you here. You know, the GOP loses, Republicans lose when we don't advance our principles. I said this last night. Ironically, the Democrats lose when they advance theirs, right? Barack Obama did everything to decimate the Democrat Party and help Barack Obama. What do you think is going to happen on the Senate side? I understand we probably don't have the votes to overcome a filibuster, but are there enough moderate Democrats on the Senate side to get this pushed through? It's a reasonable bill.
Well, yeah, it is a reasonable bill, and it's a great question. And the truth of the matter, look, we've already seen the Schumer shutdown a few weeks ago. We are about to see the Schumer Senate shut down again because we're sending them a reasonable bill that defends our borders, protects American citizens. I mean, who would not be in favor of that? And $5 billion, when you compare that to $1.3 trillion that we have in our annual budget. I mean, we're talking like a day and a half of our budget to build this wall for security. And the truth of the matter is the Senate did not vote on this bill that they sent us. They passed it by voice vote. So we don't know where the Senate is going to be on this. But the reality is now that they're either going to fund this or they're going to shut down the government. And I just don't. That's a tough choice for them to be in right now.
This $5.7 billion, Dan, is actually less than one day. It's about a half a day.
Right.
And I'm tired of fixing the blame. Let's start fixing the problem. We in the House should do our jobs, and if the clowns on the other side of the building want to fail, let them. But when we say, well, it won't get through the Senate, so we're going to abdicate our responsibility, I just won't accept that.
Yeah, Congressman Garrett, I like your style. I like you too, Congressman Heisel. You're a good man. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks for fighting a good fight, guys.